And again, welcome everybody, and thank you as well for joining us this afternoon on our webinar series on this one in particular, discussing data integrity within the laboratory space. A little bit about myself before we dive in. I am a client services manager with CSols, primarily handling the validation group and services that we provide. My background, I've just over 18 years in computer systems validation, and that's across the regulated industry, GLP, GMP, and you see there large pharma, CRO, and biopharmaceuticals, also some work with vaccines, and experience with qualifying network and infrastructure as well from IT side, not solely just lab-based systems. And in the past, I've been a member of the Society of Quality Assurance, both the Computer Validation Initiative Committee and a subcommittee that dealt with innovative technology and maintaining compliance with new technology and emerging technology. So on to what we're going to discuss today, basically focusing on the draft guidance issued by the FDA for data integrity, and discuss a little bit why it's really nothing new. If you haven't read it, what I won't be going through in this presentation is a read through or section by section of the guidance. So I do encourage everyone, if you haven't read it, to do so. I will touch on why now, in terms of why it's becoming a hot topic, and specifically the reasons why. Go over a little bit of the draft guidance in terms of what's in it and the impact of it. Again, like I said, I won't go through line by line or section by section, but give an overview, because what I'd like to spend a little more time on then are what are the common pitfalls in the industry of data integrity as we've come across them with our work at CSols, and then just also in staying in contact with the industry, what are some of the, like I said, pitfalls or hardships, things people are running into, and then our suggestions for how best to prepare yourself for meeting the draft guidance. So starting with the understanding that really data integrity is nothing new. Actually, it's if we look at the just the general documentation or regulations, guidelines by FDA, MHRA, and the WHO, which are well established in the industry. I highlighted the three terms: completeness, consistency, and accuracy, and different forms of those terms. But you can see that's the general message across industries. And when we speak of data now, from when the original documents and guidelines were released, of late, now we're really getting into obviously more computerized systems versus paper data, even hybrid systems, but there are still companies out there, still labs out there that are dealing with the paper process. And even though this data integrity draft guidance is new and just released last year in April, it does apply to all formats of data, and all that data is expected to be complete, consistent, and accurate. And just focus a little bit more on the GMPs, as the overall premise of this is the FDA draft guidance. So we'll focus on the primary predicate rule of the GMPs and how that is drawn upon in the new draft guidance. Again, you see the highlighted terms there of data are to be exact, complete, and in this case we're talking recording all data and all records for all tests performed. Again, this is primarily now, for the most part, electronic, but definitely still paper. Everything needs to be considered, and as we move through the presentation and loop back around to the end and getting into our recommendations for how to prepare, and that definitely tie in the criticality of paper and electronic. But ultimately, that bottom line message is what has been in existence for a while, the completeness, accuracy, and of all data. even a little bit more newer, if you will, if we look at the Part 11 scope and application that came out in 2003, the last real update to Part 11 dealing specifically with electronic records and signatures. Again, we're seeing the same terms used over, again, the accuracy, reliability, integrity of the data. And I didn't highlight it on this slide, but you know, I'm sure you've come across it in some way, shape, or form in dealing with projects, whether it be full-blown validations on your informatics or laboratory systems, or whether it just be on some changes. But this idea of a risk assessments and documented risk assessment to really focus on determining the potential of a system, as it says there, to affect the product quality and safety. This idea still exists. It was reemphasized in the scope and application, but in the draft guidance on data integrity, that idea of having an effective and well-documented risk assessment really helps drive complying with the idea of data integrity, and also with the idea of how to validate toward that, how to ensure your LIMS system or your chromatography system will be able to comply, because one system, it isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. You definitely need to apply assessments along the way. And again, as we see there, Part 11, the scope and application was already touching on that.